Tell me, do you have children? If you do, you'll know that they're more influenced by what you actually do than what you say. It's one of those little annoying things about being a parent. And actually, your staff are exactly the same. They are way more influenced by the way that you behave than the things that you say. Let's explore how to set the right tone with your actions in a way which creates a culture that you love in your MSP and makes business growth easy. Hey, I'm Paul Green from the MSP Marketing Edge, the leading white label content marketing system that's trusted by over 700 MSPs around the world. Check if your area is available now at mspmarketingedge.com. So it's one of the early lessons that we learn as parents that our children are more influenced by our behaviour than what we say. If you want your kids to eat more fruit and veg, guess what? You have to eat more fruit and veg. You can't just tell them what to do. It's also a bit of an early lesson for a business owner to realise that staff are no different. I was reminded of this recently when my friend Dave popped in to have a catch-up. That's not actually his real name, I'm hiding his identity, because we seem to spend the best part of 2 hours talking about his boss and all the things that his boss does wrong. You're going to love the story that I'm about to tell you. You see, Dave's boss has been shouting at the team for ages about saving money. Everyone's had to cut costs and justify expenditure. And I guess there's nothing wrong with having that control, right? It's good to be in control of the costs of your business and keep an eye on the profit. But here's the thing though. The staff thought that they were doing it to help the business's cash flow and just to keep the business healthy. And none of them could believe it when the boss turned up one Monday morning showing them photos of a massive boat that he'd bought at the weekend. Now, you and I are business owners, and we know that there is a difference between the money that the business has and the money that you have or I have. And I appreciate that sometimes that's a slightly blurred line, but they are distinctly separate pots. And if Dave's boss chooses to go and buy a big boat, having taken money out of the business to do that, that's his prerogative, right? But this did not go down well with his staff. To them, they could see that saving money in the business and all the hard work they've done was just so that he could take more money out. They saw him taking money out of the business to spend on him personally. And none of them appreciated him coming in and showing off a massive toy that they themselves could possibly never afford in their lives. In fact, it did trigger a whole series of grumblings about how infrequently pay rises happened in that business and that they were all working really hard for less money so that he could blow all of the money that was saved on a boat. Do you see how damaging that could be? Now, I'm not suggesting that he should not have bought the boat, but his team would not have been so aggrieved by it if they had proper pay rises and the business wasn't run on a penny-pinching scale. What the guy did had more influence than what he said. I have another example of this. It's actually an MSP that I used to work with a very long time ago. A few years back, I used to run peer groups where we would meet in a room once a month, and the MSPs would all collaborate on growing their business. And there was one MSP in particular. I'm going to give him a fake name too. Let's call him Boris. So Boris desperately wanted to grow his business because it had been sort of flat, it had plateaued. For many, many years it had been in that situation. And he really wanted to improve his marketing as a route to improve the business. It's just that he found marketing really boring and disinteresting. And every time we talked about it, you could literally see his eyes glazing over. And yes, I was slightly offended by this. The thing is, when he was sat in a room with me and other MSPs talking about marketing and looking bored, that was all right. The problem was when he was talking to his team about it, because his mouth was saying one thing and his actions were saying something else. And I know for a fact that he had a full-time marketing coordinator who felt that he had so little interest in marketing that her job was pointless. I know this because she told me that on a Zoom one day. When I asked her why she thought that, she replied that every time they had their weekly catch-up meeting about marketing, he'd pick up his phone, he'd look at text messages, he'd reply, or he'd let other people come into the office and talk to him about tech stuff. So his mouth was telling her that marketing's really important to the business, but he was demonstrating to her with his actions that he didn't really care. This was very, very dangerous. And what's really scary is that he had no idea he was doing this. Side note, by the way, we did do some work together to make him aware of this and for him to overcome it. And that's not normally the kind of problem I would leave someone to sort out by themselves, particularly when they're not aware of it. Anyway, do you see the point that I'm making here? If you want your techs to clear all the tickets by the end of each day, then you have to do that on the day that you man the help desk. If you want your team to keep the kitchen clean every time they make a coffee, then you have to mop up your spills when you make yourself a drink. Our staff, just like our children, are watching us all the time, and they will copy our behaviour, both the bad stuff as well as the good.
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Edge.